another major announcement today by ExxonMobil. The oil giant has increased the estimate of oil found in Guyana's waters to over 4 billion barrels. Here are the other news headlines that start the last full working week in July. Dozens of Amerindian villages have received their land titles and presidential grants worth over $25 million. Finance Minister responds to the New York Times article, which is getting a lot of criticism on social media. Maturity over political tantrums. Prime Minister Nagamutu says talks with government and opposition is about national unity, not about personality. And government is implementing a comprehensive plan to deal with the influx of Venezuelans into Guyana. And now for the details. We begin by telling you that ExxonMobil today made another major announcement, revealing that the oil found in Guyana's waters is now estimated to be over 4 billion barrels, 800,000 million barrels more than the 3.2 billion barrels initially projected.
The ExxonMobil-controlled Stabroek Block offshore Guyana is now confirmed to have in excess of 4 billion oil-equivalent barrels. ExxonMobil announced today that it increased its estimate of the discovered recoverable resources from a previous estimate of 3.2 billion oil-equivalent barrels. The company has advanced its evaluation to support a third phase of development and consideration of 2 additional phases. In its statement, the oil giant said the increase follows the completion of testing at the Liza-5 appraisal well, a discovery at Ranger, the 8th discovery longtail into the Turbot area evaluation, and completion of the Bakura discovery evaluation. According to Exxon, Guyana's first development, Liza Phase 1, will use a floating production, storage and offloading FPSO vessel to produce 120,000 barrels of oil per day starting early 2020. Liza Phase 2, targeted for sanctioning by the end of this year, will use a similar vessel designed to produce up to 220,000 barrels of oil per day and is expected to be producing by mid-2022. According to the company's senior vice president, Neil Chapman, continued success in Guyana and progress in other upstream growth projects in the U.S., Permian Basin, Mozambique, Papua New Guinea, and Brazil are giving us an additional confidence in achieving our long-term earnings growth plans that we outlined in March, end of quote. In addition, it was outlined that the Liza Phase 5 well successfully tested the northern portion of the Liza field and along with the giant Payaro field will support a third phase of development in Guyana. The Payaro development will target sanctioning in 2019 and use a FPSO vessel designed to produce approximately 180,000 barrels of oil per day as early as 2023. The Longtail well established the Turbot Longtail area as a potential development hub for recovery of more than 500 million oil-equivalent barrels. Additional prospects to be drilled in this area could increase this estimate. The collective discoveries on the Stabroek Block to date have established the potential for up to 5 FPSOs producing over 750,000 barrels of oil per day by 2025. There is potential for additional production from significant undrilled targets and plans for rapid exploration and appraisal drilling, including at the Ranger discovery, said Exxon. The Stabroek Block is 6.6 million acres, or 26,800 square kilometers. ExxonMobil's affiliate Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Limited is operating it and holds 45% interest in the Stabroek Block. Hess Guyana Exploration Limited holds 30% interest, and CNOOC, Nexen Petroleum Guyana Limited, holds a 25% interest. Paul McAdam with an InfoHub special report.
Dozens of Amerindian villages last Friday received their land titles and presidential grants, totaling in excess of $25 million. Seneca Thorne reports.
The villages were awarded between $800 to $1.5 million for various developmental projects. These include construction of mess halls, village offices, and the extension of cattle and sheep rearing projects. Handing out the checks, Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Sidney Alicok told the village leaders to make good use of the land titles and funds to ensure their communities progress.
I would like you to build bridges, build a relationship with all persons that you have met, so that we could be able to plan our future in a better way.
Receiving land titles were Tusaning Village, Kato and Carisparrow Region 8, Batavia Region 7 and Sawario Region 9. Minister Alicok reminded the leaders of the village improvement plan and successes that could be had from it.
The village improvement plan, you've seen examples from the North Rupununi, from Fairview, and other presentations that were done here during this week. Those are examples that you could use. Use your own imagination to develop your community.
The National Two House Conference was held from July 16 to 20 at the Architron Conference Center, Linendal. The one-week forum, held under the theme Preserving Our Past, Protecting Our Future, allowed for Indigenous leaders from the 212 Indigenous communities to engage the attention of ministers and heads of government agencies on issues affecting them. Seneca Thorne, InfoHub.
A New York Times article reporting on Guyana is getting a lot of flack on social media for lacking balance and fairness. Finance Minister Winston Jordan has responded, saying that the IMF, World Bank and Commonwealth Secretariat are all advising and assisting Guyana on how to best utilize the imminent oil wealth.
The Finance Minister explained extensive research has been done on issues of the pre-source curse, where unrealistic expectations ahead of oil production result in demands for higher wages and government spending, and the other two pitfalls, the resource curse and Dutch disease. The minister was responding to New York Times article by Clifford Krauss, which described Guyana as a backward nation. Minister Jordan urged Krauss to, quote, take a closer look at our country, its proud and resourceful people, and our resilience in the face of the odds, end quote. Minister Jordan also urged Guyanese to reject the article and to look towards the future with hope in our heritage, in the legacies of our ancestors, and in the path that is being crafted for us now. The finance minister explained that in crafting the National Resource Fund Act, the government has sought advice from several international institutions, including the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the Commonwealth Secretariat. Crucially, it was explained that the Act directly addresses the transparent handling of and accounting for the oil-related funds from the deposit in the NRF to their spending, which can only be done via the annual budget approved by the National Assembly. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu is putting the national interest ahead of partisan politics. He says talks with government and opposition is about national unity, not about personality.
The Prime Minister says he is undaunted by opposition leader Barry Jagdeo's tactics to remove him from the negotiating table between government and opposition, since the talks are not about him, but about the country's well-being. In his weekly column, Prime Minister Nagamutu addressed the opposition leader's recent comments, where he mentioned his party's refusal to engage in bilateral talks led by Prime Minister. The Prime Minister said that he later found out that the opposition leader had disclosed at the meeting that he would not attend talks if the Prime Minister remained head of the government's side. President David Granger has volunteered to lead the government's delegation to these talks. Prime Minister Nagamutu welcomed this decision, describing it as a politically correct move from which Jagdeo would be unable to wriggle out. The veteran politician stated that although disappointed by the opposition's behavior, it is the brutal nature of politics practiced by the PPP to which he has grown accustomed. He stated instead that the record shows that despite him having major disagreements with the competing parties throughout his political career, he has always advocated for the ultimate goal of national unity. Gabriella Patram for InfoHub.
Thanks for staying with us. CARICOM is adopting a non-deportation stance on Venezuelans fleeing the difficult situation in their country. But Foreign Minister Carl Greenidge says they must enter via legal ports. Here are the details.
Those who seek entry, of course, have to establish where they're coming from and that they don't fall into a category that we would regard as problematic. And they are required to enter Guyana by its lawful entry points.
Guyana and the wider region has adopted a humanitarian stance, particularly on Venezuelans fleeing the country's economic crisis.
The region as a whole is encouraging countries to try and not deport these people or not jail them for immigration infractions, at least in the current era, where there are special problems in Venezuela giving rise to the movement of people.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been active in leading national consideration of policy on migration. The ministry is ensuring that it is consistent with international norms and regional concerns. At the international level, the migration crisis has triggered international conferences aimed at agreeing on broad principles and rules to govern the various types of movements of people. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Attorney General Basil Williams says the new cybercrime bill will protect Guyanese, especially young people. Here are the details.
Attorney General and the Minister of Legal Affairs, Basil Williams, described the Cybercrime Bill number 17 of 2016 as one which received probably the most scrutiny from his chambers when compared to others laid before the House.
This is a good bill. It is a timely bill. The bill has the support of members of the international community. It is a timely bill. We must protect our children. We must stop cyberbullying, sir. We must prevent identity theft. This bill is a bill whose time has come.
The minister added that the legislation gives another barrier of protection against those bent on committing computer-based crimes.
Guyanese people deserve this bill so that this would be another shield, sir, that will protect the young people of this country, and they need protection badly from the predators that surf the web and come in all forms and guises, sir. And I believe, sir, that the proof of the pudding and the test of this legislation would be when we get the first Silurian victims. Don't tell us, but you don't have architecture, and you don't have this, and you don't have that. Lure a child, get charged, and then you'll find out.
This bill seeks to combat cybercrime by creating offences created to the aforementioned, to provide for penalties, investigation and prosecution of the offences and related matters. Passed by a majority vote, the bill will see those guilty of cybercrime offences being liable to fines of up to $20 million and life imprisonment. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
The Civil Defense Commission continues to assist Kokwani residents affected by the flood.
This exercise was led by Civil Defense Commission Director General Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig and regional and other CDC staffers. The team distributed food items along the waterfront area to approximately 50 homes.
The Civil Defense Commission recognized the needs of the residents of Kokwani and environs and provided supplies. These items going to be used for persons who are directly impacted to bring some amount of relief to them, because in this time it's very difficult to, in the situation with the water level being 5 to 7 feet high, it's very difficult for a person to go and work and get food.
The process was transparent, ensuring accountability. Prior to delivery, the RDC and the NDC visited the affected homes to document relevant contact information. The affected residents welcomed the assistance.
I was just thankful for what the CDC doing for us and everything that they are giving us.
We would like to say thanks to the CDC for this donation. We respect this for the people that been punishing in the water for months. It's only now they find we, but we must say thanks very much.
I must say thanks to the Civil Defense Commission for assisting us in a tremendous way. The Regional Democratic Council and all those who have played an important part in assisting. A million thank you from the heart.
The supplies being provided included water purification and sanitation items, along with food supplies which include rice, flour, sugar, oil, corned beef, sardines, and other items. The distribution began 3 days after the initial assessment, which was conducted on Friday the 13th. Heavy rains, which have since eased, resulted in the up to 6 feet of water covering the community after the Upper Berbice River overflowed its banks. Water has since started to recede. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
And in our final report this evening, former PPP Natural Resources Minister calls for less bickering and for all Guyanese to get on with getting ready for real prosperity to come from the oil wealth.
Following the announcement by the oil and gas exploration company this morning, Passar took to his Facebook page giving kudos to the economic boom that is to come. According to Prasad, in less than 7 years, Guyana's economy will jump from US $3.68 billion to close to US $15 billion. That will mean that individual worth will increase by as much as 400%. He said that there is no other country whose wealth is projected to expand by over 400% in the next 7 years. The former minister said news like this should motivate Guyanese to do less bickering, finger-pointing, and move ahead with the task of getting Guyana ready for what he described as real prosperity. He said, quote, "We are on the way to phenomenal prosperity, and don't let the naysayers hold us back from getting ready. They all have their own agendas." ExxonMobil announced this morning that its Stabroek block has been confirmed to have more than 4 billion oil equivalent barrels and has increased its estimate of the discovered recoverable resources from a previous estimate of 3.2 billion oil equivalent barrels. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
We leave you with your bridge and weather reports and the results from yesterday's One-Day International, in which Bangladesh beat West Indies at the National Stadium. The next ODI is on Wednesday, starting at 2 p.m. Goodbye.